I've just done two shorts on why Jews, and in particular Russian Jews, excelled at classical music. I've just done two shorts on that, so now I'll just do a combined video that combines the two thoughts into a slightly longer video. So let's name drop some names of famous Russian Jewish classical performers: Horowitz, Rubinstein, Heifetz, Milstein, Kogan, Oistrakh, to name but a few. Now, in those days in the Russian Empire, before the Soviet Revolution, the Jews in Russia had suffered a series of terrible pogroms. So in the case of a violinist, the violin case was easy to grab and run with if you needed to flee your area because a pogrom was coming. If you had to flee for your life, grab the violin case and run. Because it wasn't just violinists, the pianists as well, and many other different types of classical musicians. But of course, they dominate the violin world. So Jews in those days in the Russian Empire lived within. A lot of them were concentrated within the Pale of Settlement. They were not allowed to remain inside the gates of St. Petersburg after dark. So that's why in the case of Heifetz and the other famous Jews in the Leopold Auer class in the Conservatoire in St. Petersburg were given special exception, allowed to live in the city because of their exceptional talent. Of course, Leopold Auer himself was Jewish. Heifetz's father was allowed by exception to move in to support his son whilst he was in the Conservatoire because he was so young. But these were the exception rather than the rule. So this paints more of a picture of the general population being incredibly poor and downtrodden, not what people have said really. Of course, elites and bankers and things is a different question. We're talking about just the ordinary Jew. So in order to break out of the ghetto, in order to be a somebody in life, to succeed, the Jewish mothers pushed their children very hard to excel in classical music. Now, Nathan Milstein said it's nothing special in particular about the Jewish race that meant that they were kind of dominated the classical world. But I'm not sure I completely agree in every way. Of course, many famous non-Jewish classical musicians, without doubt. But I do believe the history and sadness and emotion comes out in the performance, and I draw a parallel there with, say, the blues in America, born off the plantations, which eventually, of course, led to jazz. There we are. So those are my thoughts on why Russian Jews were so good at classical music.